All right, and here's an update in relation to what happened with Bharti Infratel as well as the Indus Tower deal. Remember that it has been on the radar since some time now, and it's official now. It's essentially going to involve a merger of Bharti Infratel with Indus Towers. Vivek Iyer has been scanning the press release. And Vivek, what exactly does this deal entail? How is it going to impact Infratel, Airtel, and even Idea for that matter?
Well, that's right. The entire telecom pack and the telecom infrastructure pack is going to be affected as far as this particular deal is concerned. Just to take you through the complex metrics of this particular deal, two of India's largest infrastructure tower companies. The first one is Bharti Infratel, which is a listed company on both of the exchanges, and that is the one we are tracking at this point of time. The other one is, of course, Indus Towers. Now, remember, Indus Towers is a joint venture between most of the major telecom companies. If you're talking about it, 42% held by Vodafone, another 42% held by Bharti Airtel, the parent company of Bharti Infratel. The other 11% is held by Idea, and another smaller holding is by the other promoter as well. So now what we understand at this point of time is that both of these companies, both Infratel as well as Indus Towers, will eventually get merged into one single entity, creating the largest telecom infrastructure company in the world. It will be the second largest if you exclude the one that is there in China as well. So if you're talking about it, if you're looking at the entire deal metrics, what they are offering Idea, Idea which holds a 11% stake in Indus, they're actually offering Idea exit, and what they're saying is that the VWAP price of Idea would be the average price in the last 60 days. Now, if you're talking about it, what this basically means is that Indus Towers gets listed on the Indian Stock Exchange via the reverse merger process. So shareholders of both Bharti Infratel will actually get exposure to Indus Towers as well. How does this affect the entire market metrics? Of course, remember, a lot of pricing power does come in as far as the combined entity is concerned. The entire co-location problem and the tenancy reduction will slightly get mitigated by the fact that post the Idea-Vodafone merger, there will be a lot of drops in far as tenancies are concerned. But this combined entity will actually have a lot of pricing power. So it'll be interesting to see how the markets will actually react to this. Bharti Infratel, of course, a little weaker in trade given the fact that there is the possibility and the overhang of a stake sale of Idea. And Bharti Airtel, of course, surging in trade today, the top nifty gainer, given the fact that the stake sale actually revolves around significant value unlocking.
Thanks very much for giving us all of those details as to what exactly this means. So clearly the call being connected with Infratel now merging with Indus Towers. In the meantime, let's also hear it then. Earlier today, we spoke with Nitin Soni. He's from Fitch Ratings, and he believes that this synergy out of this deal is going to benefit both the entities that are involved, but not specifically for Airtel as such. Let's listen in.
I think the plan is to get private equity investors in Infratel and eventually use that cash proceeds to buy stake of Vodafone and Idea in Indus Towers and eventually merge the two companies. The main synergies from the merger of these two companies will come from the saving of the dividend distribution tax and greater economies of scale, which will really benefit these two tower entities, given the consolidation which has happened in the industry and has affected the co-locations of Bharti Infratel. I think it's a positive step for the tower entities involved in this deal, but it's not going to affect Bharti Airtel in any way.
Okay, let's take this discussion forward with Sanjeev Bhasin, who is joining us right now on the phone line. Sanjeev, hi, good afternoon. Thanks for joining in. I want to start off first. While, of course, we just heard out the deal details and Vivek joined us outlining the deal. Remember that the shareholding pattern is contingent on what exactly Idea decides to do, what exactly Providence decides to do. So at this point of time, Idea has the option to sell out of its stake and cash in. Do you believe that's something that Idea would opt for? Though at this point of time, Idea has not given any indication.
Yeah, so I think they will, see, there are three synergies which come out of this. One, as you already pointed out, dividend distribution tax will be a savior. Secondly, it will create a new entity, where Bharti Infratel was always considered to be a part of Bharti. Now it will be known as a third. And thirdly, any of the people who are going to encash their stake, the need of the hour is to raise cash, because you're seeing price wars hurts the incumbents tremendously on the balance sheet. and raising of resources, which they would be able to do after this merger, because the debt equity will improve, borrowing will improve, all that would be the candidate. So I think Idea will definitely look to exit over here, and we'll wait for the further, as the news unfolds.
Sanjeev, hi there, afternoon. Let's talk about the synergies of this deal. Who is it exactly going to be beneficial for, and do you think that even Airtel will stand to benefit from the same?
Yes, definitely. I think Airtel will also be a key beneficiary. One, it will, unlock a value which you always wanted to know what would be the real value. And they were selling some of their tranches in Bharti Infra, if you recall, all to reduce the pressure on the balance sheet. So I think there should be a further liftment of the stock. We've seen the worst of the pricing in this quarter, both on audio and data take place, and I think ARPUs may have bottomed out at 116. I don't think that this can continue. I think there will be some plateauing and maybe some more upside now in pricing over a period of time. So it's a win-win for all of them. Like I said, Avan, the main course here is how to improve your debt equity and borrow more so that you can withstand this price war, which is hurting both the Idea Vodafone and the Bharti, balance sheet.
Now, in terms of the specifics of the deal, the shareholders of Indus are going to get about 1565 shares of Infratel for every share held. And this values Indus Star at an enterprise value of about 71,500 crore rupees. What is your assessment of the valuation so far?
So I think it would be in line, something like $16 billion is what the street is talking of. And you've got to understand that this is an annuity business now. This will become the largest in the world on own tower. And you've seen the propensity of, how mobile networks and mobile is gaining ground. I think you may have reached a peak, but we still have a lot of way to go. So and like I said, this is a very fine annuity business. And there is no uncertainty. I think it will only increase. Only in the short term, because of the synergies and duplicacy, there will be some pressure on tenancy in the medium term.
Fair enough. And Sanjeev, give us a view then, just a blanket call right now on the telecom space. With all of these deals emerging, how have you read into Airtel's numbers, Reliance Jio just coming in and sort of shaking up all of the players within the space, stretched balance sheets, etc. What's the outlook? Which stocks do you like here?
So Avan, the new gold is data, and I see no let up in data. You can do everything on your phone, and right now the price war is definitely hurting both the Airtel and the Idea Group. But I see that now they are just three incumbents. I think over the next 2 quarters, I would expect prices to stabilize, gather some more traction. And I think if you have a 1-year window, you can't but go wrong by buying, at least our top pick would be Bharti, closer to this 380, 385 if you do get it on any bad news. But if you have the wherewithal, I think 1 year these stocks could declare, they give you stupendous returns, at least in excess of 25% as prices stabilize. And, this is all an India-centric model where data is only going to gather more traction.
That makes sense, Sanjeev. Thanks so much for that. Well, while data is the new gold, and Airtel and all these stocks, of course, have corrected quite a bit, Sanjeev thinks that this may be an opportunity to lap up and, of course, stay invested for about a year or so.
And as you said, data is the new gold, really.
Exactly.
So that's the way to go.
Anyway, so let's move on and talk about the latest updates coming in on Fortis, because the revised offers only are spicing up for the company. Let's go across, in fact, before that, to Ajay Sharma. He is joining us to tell us about what a brokerage is recommending when it comes to Airtel's numbers. Ajay, over to you.
Well, on expected lines, the stock is up over 4% in trade, and most of the brokerages this morning were actually quite positive, looking at the way the numbers were slightly on the improved side. Though the India business was a big loss of 480 crore, it was lower than what the street was estimating. Similarly, on a consol basis, just about 83 crore profit versus a loss expectation. Brokerages are not expecting that. In fact, Nomura and all the other brokerages, Morgan Stanley, come out and say that the margins held up better than what the street was actually estimating. And the stock, meanwhile, had already underperformed a whole lot. So some amount of short covering is actually happening, and brokerages believe that this margin surprise actually may very well continue, because they've held on to the 35-36% barrier. And more color, of course, on the competitive intensity will be sought after in the conference call. But most of them have got a buy call on Bharti, and the target price is anywhere between 500 to 550 rupees a share.
422 thumbs up on the numbers. Thanks very much, Ajay, for breaking down what exactly the brokerages are advising.